And good evening. It is time for the NX7062 simulcast. I am here on both Spreaker and YouTube. And and I'm on the right YouTube channel. Yay! That's where we kind of got a little screwed up on Monday. I've got two YouTube channels, and I was using the wrong one, so I apologize to everybody last on Monday who couldn't find me. I am now on my NX7062 YouTube channel, which is where I would love it for everybody if you would just, subscribe. And again, I apologize. I'm going to be running two chats, one in YouTube and one in Spreaker. So if I can't catch you, if I miss you one, I apologize because I'm only one person. I don't have a moderator to feed me questions and such. I see Robert is hanging out over in Spreaker. Hi, Robert. Hope you're having a good evening. I am your host, Stephanie K, as always. And see, now that I'm here, I have my names down on the corner if you're on the video. Oh, hey, Robert, you're double dipping. Hi. You know what? And in case you can't tell, I am not wearing Star Trek garb tonight. I am showing my other fandoms. I am a Boston Red Sox fan. And my Baby Yoda shirt. I'm just, I figured, what the heck? I am allowed to like more than one thing, as we all are. So there are 83 days until Star Trek Las Vegas. According to the website, it's still happening. So even though that's still happening, Creation, like all of the other main convention producers, have decided that while we're all in quarantine, I guess they figure we're kind of a captive audience, and they couldn't be more right. So a lot of these conventions have gone virtual. And I actually had somebody respond to my post on Facebook saying they love the idea because they, like I'm sure many other people, for whatever reason, whether it be financial, whether it be physical, whether it be emotional. There are some people that just don't like crowds, that just literally cannot handle being in crowds. Whatever the reason it is, there are a lot of people out there who would love to go to any convention and they can't, whatever reason. And now they can. There are certain things that are missing. Obviously, there's a certain camaraderie that's missing. Now, granted, and I actually mentioned this in a chat on one of the Seventh Rules live. They're doing live every Thursday. They're doing live YouTube, and we were talking about it, and they were saying how there's a social element that you get when you're physically in a room with a bunch of other fans. Everybody's geeking out together. You get that in the chats. You don't get the same experience that you would if you were, physically at STLV. But there's a camaraderie that comes with the chats. I think we all know Christopher and Robert are off on Spreaker saying hi to each other. Hi, Christopher. Thank you for joining me. So there's definitely a camaraderie that comes from that. There's more of an intimacy, I think, that comes with that when you can sit down and say, perfect example. I actually had a chance. Creation's running a lot of virtual events, and they have been for a little while now. They're all pay as you go, or pay as you like, which is great, which is they're on Stage It. And I had a chance to go to Chase Masterson's panel. And what was funny is that I have a job that I actually get to go to, but it's quiet and I can do what I want, which included watching Chase while I was working. So that's something that you can't do if you have to go to a brick and mortar convention. So I watched Chase, and like I said, there's an intimacy because, she can't see us, but we're right there with her. There's no 100 rows back. Look, you can spend $300 on a general admission ticket, go to Star Trek Las Vegas, be sitting umpteen rows back and watching Chase on a video screen and maybe seeing her as a little dot on the actual stage. Or you get to flip open your tablet, sit on your comfy couch, pay $1 or $2 and watch her there. So, and there's pros and cons to both. I'm not saying that I'd rather be curled up on the couch with a tablet watching Chase as opposed to being in a convention with, thousands of my closest friends watching Chase on stage. There's definitely pros and cons. But right now, we don't have the option to sit in a huge auditorium in Las Vegas. We might come August. I'm hoping that we do. I have lots of plans for Vegas. Something that's incredibly disheartening is that I just found out today my friend from Dublin is not going to be able to come to Vegas. They actually canceled her flight. I guess Dublin. I said, you're about 2.5 months out, 83 days to be exact, as I mentioned. Why did they, why now? And can't you just rebook later? And she said that that's not it, that, however Ireland is handling COVID-19, she's not going to be able to leave the country. There's a huge part of me that's just tempted to be like, could you sneak into Scotland, maybe England, and like fly from there? But yeah, at this point, Claire's not going to be able to make it. Incredibly disappointed. She's a huge Connor Trinneer fan. If she ever sees this, hi Claire, miss you. She's a huge Connor fan. She's actually going to the Connor and Dominic Q&A that I'm going to this Saturday that's being sponsored by Creation. I don't have to work, so I do get to curl up in my jammies and watch Connor and Dominic be their fun selves. There are still tickets available for that. If you go to StageIt, stageit.com, and you just Creation's the vendor, the performer, or however you want to look at it. But sorry, Podcat has left the building. Anyway, so they're on StageIt, and you go and it's pay what you want. You buy these little coins, and then, hey, domestic, you found me. See, and this is NX7062 this time. So you pay. Okay, so you go in. I didn't understand it quite, but you go in, you sign up, and they say, how many coins do you want to buy? And you get, for $5, you get 50 coins. And then you use however many of those coins you want to buy a ticket to the event that you want. And then you can also throw, like, kind of tip the performers. So that's part of it too. You get to tip the performers. So, I spent $1 on the ticket. And then if I wanted to use the other 40, I spent 10. So I spent 10 coins. Thank you, domestic. I think he's pretty cool. So you spend $10, or I'm sorry, you spend $5, 10 coins. Let's try this again. We've decided, my friends and I, this is all COVID brain. This is what happens. 10 coins on a ticket left me 40. I spent another 10 coins to go see Chase. Leaves me 30. If I wanted to, I could turn around and tip those 30 coins to Connor and Dominic on Saturday. We'll see how that goes. Problem is, when you throw money at Dominic Keating, sometimes he tends to take off his shirt. Not necessarily a bad thing. It has been known to happen during live karaoke events. That's the other thing. Can't have live karaoke events if you're doing a virtual convention. Now, the thing about virtual conventions is, what do you call a virtual convention? Shout out to my crew at at Lambda Quadrant for doing an actual convention. We had panels, we had interactive, we had the makeup tutorial, we had Chase, we had Nicole DeBoer, we had all these wonderful interviews. That is a convention. What it seems like everybody else is doing is throwing panels at you, which is great. I mean, listen, most people go to the conventions, to see the celebrities, meet the celebrities. Now, again, autographing sessions and selfies and photo ops you can't do virtually. So I don't feel like virtual conventions are obviously going to replace brick and mortar conventions once we all get back to a semblance of normal where we can all congregate. But I could definitely see them sticking around depending on their popularity. The other thing is right now, from a financial standpoint, if you want to look at it from a rum got in the way. Hold on, I got to share this with everybody else. That honestly is not true. Rum doesn't get in the way. I mean, come on. Everybody's, kicking back and relaxing. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's COVID brain. That's what I said. Don't tell anybody what you're drinking. Don't tell anybody how much you've been drinking. Just blame it on COVID brain. Nobody will ask. That's what you do. Anyway, like I said, I don't know where my head's at tonight. I'm just glad to be here chatting at you all. Hi. Still getting used to this video thing. But anyway, So now that I just completely lost my train of thought. So yeah, like I said, from a financial standpoint, you're never going to pull in the kind of money with a virtual convention that you're able to pull in with a brick and mortar convention. And where does that leave the vendors? I have friends that are vendors. I have friends that are artists. I mean, we actually Lambda Quadrant, we've been just talking about expanding the virtual convention to include artists and vendors, and but that gets complicated. You got to figure out how to do that too. But that's definitely a drawback, that you don't get to buy things like Baby Yoda shirts, except like online. But that's one of the things I love. I love shopping at conventions. I love, when I did New York Comic Con, the first New York Comic Con I went to, I was only able to go for one day, because by the time I figured out I wanted to go, Thursday tickets were the only thing left. And so I went, and one of the things that I went for, because it's, obviously the biggest convention on the East Coast, I had lost a comic book when I was a kid, a Flash comic book. And I remembered the cover. The cover was burned into my brain because I lost it. And a friend of mine at the time, who was this amazing comic book geek, actually found the cover for me. He found it online. So now I knew what Flash I was looking for, because I had an issue in a year and everything. And I actually found it in New York Comic Con. It was only $10. And even better than that, I found it. And then a few months later, I worked my first East Coast Comic Con, and they happened to have one of the illustrators of that comic at East Coast. So I took my little prized possession and I had him sign it. And see, look, I am not alone. Other people like to shop. I am so happy to know I'm not alone. Thanks, Chris. And I got him to sign it. These are things that can't happen with brick and mortar conventions. There are people, some people, brave people, who would consider reaching out to certain celebrities, certain artists, and saying, if I sent you something, would you sign it? I have a Batman Bat book that has been signed by Adam West, Julie Newmar, Burt Ward, and Lee Merriweather. And I didn't even like Lee Merriweather's Catwoman, but I got news for you. She went to East Coast Comic Con. She signed my Bat book. There are very few actors remaining from Batman, so I'm trying to. Well, Chris Hunter, who is a friend of the show, his mom was in a third season episode of Batman. She played Nora Clavicle. She was the guest villainess, and I would love to have her sign my book. I am not putting it in the mail and sending it out to him. I trust him. I adore him. He's an amazing friend, and I love Chris, and I have to have him back on the show one of these days soon. But just not something I would do with something that precious. So again, these are things that you can't get from a virtual convention. Okay. I'm having fun sharing this stuff. So Domestic has STLV merch all over the place. He's got Tribbles. So yeah, see, these are things that you don't get. And I'm not saying that these virtual conventions aren't great. And I'm not saying that they're not filling a gap. And obviously, from an economic standpoint, companies like Creation, they have, conventions all set out throughout the year. And like any company, obviously they have these budgets, and they have, okay, well, we're going to have, we're going to factor in X amount of dollars for this month and X amount of dollars for that month. They're a business. They've got to know what their expenses are and everything. Well, along comes Corona, and I think they've only canceled one convention, but everything else has gotten pushed off. July and August right now, God knows that everything that's in July and August could get pushed off or canceled even further down the line. So all of a sudden, you've gone from having money coming into your company on a fairly steady basis between all the conventions that you're hosting to now just blanket months of nothing. And you still have employees that you want to pay. You still have people that are working for you. Even if they're working from home, they're still working for you, which means at some point they want to get compensated. So from an economic standpoint, I don't see virtual conventions being able to sustain companies like ReedPop and Creation and Altered Reality and, oh God, who are the people? Oh, I wish my buddy Edwin was here. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to ask him. There was a convention, Ace, which actually got themselves in trouble. They canceled their Boston show. It was at the height of of the lockdowns. They canceled their Boston show, and their insurance didn't kick in, or their insurance company ran away with a bunch of money, and a lot of people weren't getting their refunds. What sucks most about that was Ewan McGregor was going to be there, and that might have actually been his first convention appearance here, because I've never heard of Ewan McGregor doing anything, at least not in the U.S. And trust me, I'm a huge Ewan McGregor fan. More so for Moulin Rouge. I mean, I thought he was amazing as Obi-Wan Kenobi. I thought he was an amazing Obi-Wan, but he can sing, dance, and act. So after I saw Moulin Rouge, and then I was seeing him in Star Wars, I'm like, sing Obi-Wan, but not that he would. But anyway, so like I said, from a fiscal standpoint, virtual conventions aren't going to be they're not going to be sustainable. There's too much that a brick and mortar can offer that it just doesn't translate to the virtual world. Yes, I mean, and I've talked to people. There are ways to do autographs that can work. Sell your autographs. They sign them, they send them to you. I had a couple of ideas that I'm not going to share, because they're ideas that I'm going to give to Hulk. I have to give to Lambda Quadrant first, and we'll see if we do them. But I mean, there are ways to do autographing through virtual conventions, but you can't charge. All right, my favorite boys. Example, Connor and Dominic charge, when they're in Vegas, it's $50 for an autograph, $20 for a selfie at their table. Well, obviously, I can't do a selfie this way, so that's out. But can you really charge somebody $50 for an autograph when part of the appeal of that autograph is you get to sit down and talk to them about Shuttle Pod 1? Or in my case, I'm trying to think of one of my favorite episodes. Silent Enemy was just on the other day. Or Silent Enemy. That's part of the $50, is not just them signing it. It's not just, they're not just, they're personalizing it, they're signing it, but that's not all of it. It's the fact that you can sit and talk to them for a few minutes if you want. And it's something that I always cover in Con 101, about interacting with the celebrities. But obviously that's part of your $50. So you're not going to spend the same $50 to get them to sign it and then mail it to you. So that's just something, and then how much of that's supposed to go to the convention, and because domestic, you shouted out to Pop Hero Coalition, we're going to shout out to Pop Culture Hero Coalition. You're right. They do a lot of business at the conventions. When Chase runs her table, she's not just running it to sign autographs. She's running it for her Pop Culture Hero Coalition. So what everybody needs to do who is within the sound of my voice is, because I'm going to share this right now. I'm podcast. I need to train Podcat to type. But if you are within the sound of my voice and you want to help Pop Hero Coalition survive this, then this is what you do. You go to bekindmerch.org. You do that. And that's how you're going to help. And that's how you're going to help Pop Hero Coalition. You're going to go to bekindmerch.org, and you're going to buy something. You're going to buy a coffee mug. You're going to buy a shirt. You're going to buy something, and you're going to help them get through this. And thank you for that shout out to Domestic. I thank you for Chase and Raymond and everybody else that's involved with that amazing group. Don't let Podcat in your room. Yeah, Podcat is pretty good about staying away when mommy's relaxing with her adult beverages. My dog Anakin, on the other hand, tends to like to get into the adult beverages, or at least try. If I put something on the floor, his nose is automatically in it. So, but no, Podcat's pretty good. He's on the wagon. But thank you. And Christopher did mention, yes, I just saw this, that Pop Culture did actually get $78K or so from Star Trek Online. So a huge shout out to Star Trek Online as well for supporting such a worthy cause. as pop culture. And, you know, I will shout out to them as much as I will shout out to Lambda Quadrant, because Chase Masterson is just one incredibly amazing person. And I'm privileged to be able to call her a friend. And I did actually chat with her a little bit after her panel the other day. She actually sang this really great song about Latinum's a girl's best friend. It's a little bit of a parody to Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. And that's how she closed the panel. And I'm really excited. Again, I'm really excited because honestly, this panel this weekend with Connor and Dominic may be the only way that I get to see them. And I'm really hoping that the question that I have decided to ask them, which is actually a follow-up to a podcast question, I interviewed them for my podcast. For all you new people, if you go to Spreaker.com and you follow my podcast and you get to look at all the past podcasts, if you scroll back to September, the season 2 premiere had some amazing interviews from STLV. The first one, which is completely cocked up because my computer let me down, was actually an interview question with Aaron Eisenberg. And I couldn't be more heartbroken now that the question got screwed up, or that the audio got screwed up. But and there was the last interview that I played for that was my interview with Connor and Dominic. And I have a follow-up question to something that somebody asked me to ask them. If STLV happens, and like I said, at this moment, if you go to the website, it's 83 days away. They're open. Vegas is open, but right now it's 250 people max at a convention. Now, I don't know, because the Rio's convention center is so huge. I don't know if square footage is going to factor into it. Is going to make any sort of difference by August. Because 250 people, that's less probably than the vendors, the creation staff, and volunteers combined is probably 250 people without letting one ticketed person through the door. So hopefully that'll change and the restrictions will loosen. I mean, I don't know what creation's going to do if it doesn't. I mean, maybe I don't know where you guys are, but here in Jersey, and I'm sure in a lot of different places, there's lines to get in the grocery store. They have that one poor person that stands at the line. They've got the little clicker. So they monitor how many people are in. And I guess, somehow it knows when like 3 people have left, that they know that they can let 3 other people in. So I don't know, if that's how they're going to have to run it. They're going to have to let, the vendors are all going to be in, but then attendees have to have like an hour. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work. Like I said, and like Christopher's agreed, it's not, these virtual conventions are not sustainable. They're basically to keep interest, to keep people happy, to keep creation and these other companies front of mind. Wizard World, there's the other. Wizard World's been doing a lot of these Q&As. And it's really interesting to watch, the various platforms and the technology that people are using and what's best for what. Stage It is kind of like what I'm doing right now. I use this really great third-party site called StreamYard, and StreamYard lets me broadcast out to multiple platforms. So I play in StreamYard and you guys are all seeing me on YouTube, and that's how that works. And Stage It actually does the same thing, because when Chase was on, I went, wait, I know those graphics. That's StreamYard. So, so it's just kind of cool to see who's using what technology. Domestic, I have to agree with you. Aaron was always an absolute highlight of STLV. And again, very privileged to have known him and to have had a chance to talk to him and hang out with him. Galaxy, you're right, Robert. GalaxyCon is also running virtual conventions. I had heard that. Thank you for that one. Come on. There we go. But Aaron, I was very privileged to know him and to hang out with him a little bit at STLV. We did have some quality time together. In fact, I got to eat lunch with him the last day. He and his wife, Melissa, the most amazing Melissa, love her. Shout out to Melissa. She has a company, Walking Art by Melissa. She's a fabulous artist. Definitely check her out. Yeah, Aaron, I still have problems. Honestly, I still have problems watching Deep Space Nine. because I still get kind of teary when I see him in Deep Space Nine. But yeah. See, thanks, Domestic. You're right, though. He spent so much time. In fact, the reason that I will tell you this, the reason that the audio is screwed up is because everybody else I interviewed at Las Vegas took my recorder, went to Las Vegas, interviewed everybody. Aaron was always, first of all, Aaron's always busy with guests. So he's always talking to somebody. Let's start with that. And by second or third day in, he had already lost his voice. And he didn't want to do my podcast with a scratchy voice. So he said we would do something over the phone when he had a chance to rest. And why was his voice scratchy? Because he took that kind of time to talk to everybody. So I was more than happy, and he was very generous with his time. And he actually invited me, and I sort of reminded Ryan Husk about this. It's like, by the way, Aaron invited me to be on the Seventh Rule when you guys got to Enterprise. Now, they're only, I think, on season 2 of DS9, so I'm not sure exactly when they're going to get to Enterprise, but I believe Aaron's words were I could go on and gush about Enterprise, and I said, gushing about Enterprise, yeah, I think I can handle that, because it is my favorite show. But notice again tonight, I'm not even trekked out tonight. It's all about my baseball, and which, by the way, might be coming back. I heard that they're talking about. They're in discussions with the union right now to see if they can do a COVID version of baseball and get the season started soon, which would be amazing. But I mean, there has to be a lot of compromises, which is why they need to talk to the unions and see if they can set that up. But I know I'm talking to nerds, but that just because I'm talking to nerds doesn't mean you guys don't like baseball, right? I don't know. My guys that are listening, Robert and Domestic and Christopher. I happen to like baseball. Or I don't know, Christopher, maybe you like cricket instead. I don't know. Or rounders. Wait, it's rounders. Baseball's based on rounders. I think I was corrected. I always thought it was cricket, but it's more rounders, somebody told me once. Always good to have a British person explain English. Anyway, so like I said, last year Renee Auberjonois won, and they were terrific at the Saturday Gala. I did not go to the Saturday. Oh, Robert, woohoo, Red Sox fan. I didn't go to the gala, but Nana is always amazing. Renee is always amazing. Nana did a fantastic job guest starring with the Rat Pack. Again, something that needs to happen. Star Trek Rat Pack, they have new material. I talked to Jeff. It was dinner. Okay. Okay. Renee, and wherever Renee went and wherever Nana goes, it's fabulous. Speaking of Nana, the Cruise, Star Trek The Cruise is actually hosting a virtual Nana thing. I think it's like a cook, ask Nana. I think it's an Ask Nana thing. I thought it was a cooking thing. Might be a little bit of both. I was on Star Trek The Cruise 3. And I went to her cooking demonstration, and that was absolutely fabulous. I actually ate something with jalapenos, and it got a chance to tell her later that it was good. And I usually am very afraid of jalapenos. So, yeah. But even the cruise is getting into this with the virtual stuff. Like I said, and Creation's doing it with more than just Star Trek. They're doing it with pretty much they've got this guy that was in like 3 episodes of Supernatural, and his panel's already sold out. I noticed the other day. Or his there's also Zoom one on, like, you can bid to be one of 15 people to go to a Zoom video conference where they actually get to see you. I think that's the one that like had like over the amount of bids or whatever. So I mean, but Rat Pack, that's where I was going before I got distracted by you boys. Star Trek Rat Pack. I talked to Jeff Combs in LA. They were on the cruise. They have new material, and I need my Rat Pack fix. And you can't get a Rat Pack fix. I mean, you can't. You need to be in a room with the stage with the Rat Pack. Nana was a great fill-in last year. They had Nana with them last year, and she was fabulous. Just fabulous fill-in with them. Max Grodenchik is one of the sweetest people you will ever meet. You're right. He's incredibly creative. The Rat Pack's amazing. I love the parodies. I love their humor. I actually am a fan of the original Rat Pack, like Dino and Frank and Sammy and all that. The original Ocean's 11, Ocean's 8, whatever, yeah. All of that, I love that. And I really feel like the Star Trek Rat Pack absolutely embodies that spirit that they had back then. And I've told Jeff that. I had a chance to tell Jeff. Had a chance to tell Ethan Phillips. Not sure I told Max. One of these days I'll have to tell Max. Max, like I said, Max is just so sweet and so generous and such a warm and kind human being. And his daughter is absolutely flippin' adorable. If you are ever in Las Vegas, he brings his wife and his daughter. And his daughter's just this little blonde bundle of energy. And she's so much fun. So Max is just another one, very sweet. And I've had the privilege of getting to know him. And I just adore him to bits and pieces. I met Nana for the very first time, probably in the 90s as well, Robert, at a convention. It was probably a creation event. I honestly don't remember. I just remember it was up in Valley Forge, PA, which is outside of Philadelphia, at their convention center. And she was sitting outside. They didn't have room inside for everybody. For the lines, to accommodate the lines. So they actually had Nana signing outside, and it was the end of the day. I think the convention was actually over. And my sister had wanted to meet her because she did an episode of Night Court. So my sister had wanted to meet her. So we went through the line. Back then you didn't pay for autographs either. I'm sure Robert remembers that. Back in the day, you just had to be willing to wait in line for, ever, because everybody and their brother was online. A little bit different than today. That's one thing that people probably don't miss is like the really long lines. But again, they're for autographs and you don't get an autograph. So yes, I agree with the idea of doing virtual conventions. My Lambda Quadrant buddies and we are discussing doing another one. I can't say any more than that. Then it's out there. We're discussing it because right now they're talking about Los Angeles being locked down at least through July. Meanwhile, like I said, Vegas is due to open up the end of the month for Memorial Day weekend. Beaches are sporadically opening up around the country. So, who knows where we're going to be. It would be nice, like I said, somebody that commented on the Facebook post about tonight's topic, it would be nice if they continued virtual events, even when things get back to a little more normal and they do start the brick and mortar stuff again. Only because I think even when you get back to doing the conventions, you're not going to have the volume of people. So again, from a fiscal standpoint, it probably would make sense to keep some virtual stuff going on just to have that little extra cash flow coming in to hopefully make up for what's probably, at least for 6 months to a year, going to be a lower attendance rate. I could definitely see that as being a sad reality of even when the doors finally open, people are going to be paranoid, rightfully so, especially people in high-risk groups are probably going to be the ones that are going to stay away. I don't know about the actors. I'd like to think that again, selfishly, I totally admit I'm being selfish. I hope my favorite actors don't cancel out on Star Trek STLV. I'm still going to go. I'm not going to be happy, but I'm still going to go. But I would understand. I mean, Connor still technically owes me a hug. We'll just have to collect for later. But I would totally understand, if some of these actors either they're in high risk groups or they don't, there are actors out there that now, before all of this happened, were, I don't want to say germophobic because that's a little harsh, but weren't big fans of the constant touching. And they're the ones that, finished off 12 bottles of hand sanitizer during their autograph sessions. And, and I know Femke Janssen, actually, you can't touch her. That you can't shake her hand when she's doing an autograph. And if you go up to get your picture during a photo op, you can put your hand, she'll sit in a chair and you can rest your hand behind her on the chair, but don't touch her. Doesn't like to be touched. you know what? You have to respect that. That's her. But chances are those types of individuals who don't like to be touched or just whatever, they're not going to do conventions. It's just going to be a fact. They're not going to want to do these conventions. They didn't like being exposed for whatever their personal reasons are. Again, not a judgment, but for whatever their personal reasons are, they didn't want to be exposed when things were normal. So now they're probably those people, no matter how popular they are, no matter how much you love them, they may be taking a step back from conventions for a while, just from the standpoint of that's who they are and that's how they feel about their health and about being out. And again, you have to respect it. It's just going to be disappointing a lot of people. But again, you know what? Your health and your comfort level have to come first. There are a lot of actors that don't do conventions. There are some actors that don't do conventions anymore because their comfort level was breached to a point during a convention. They were stalked. Women were inappropriately manhandled. Female actresses were inappropriately manhandled. And that was enough to have them say, you know what? I'm done. Domestic, I honestly don't know about Brent, but you know what, Robert? Howie Mandel was actually who I was thinking of. Howie Mandel is actually a germaphobe. There are people that are less than he is, but Howie, I believe, will admit to being a germaphobe. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But again, I mean, that's who he is. Respect for that. But don't expect to see people who feel that way to be out in public anytime soon. I like Brent. I actually talked to Brent in Big Apple Comic-Con. I got my picture with him. My sister was a fan of his too because he did Night Court. He had a recurring role on Night Court, and he was so great. Bob Wheeler. If you ever want to see Brent Spiner do this wonderful deadpan humor, just go to YouTube and just type in like Bob Wheeler Night Court. You might not even need to type in Night Court. Just type in Bob Wheeler. And you'll get some Night Court stuff, and it's just great. He was absolutely wonderful in Night Court. But again, I mean, these are going to be people that you're not going to see even when things start to get back to normal, because God knows when normal is going to be, because they're still talking about fall. It's going to happen again. I mean, I have to admit, I'm looking for a new job. I'm looking for a career that I can work from home, because at least that means, if stuff hits the fan in the next, if stuff hits the fan by fall, at least I'll be able to work. But enough about me, although I do a podcast twice a week. Speaking of which, I know I promised the world at large that while we were all COVIDing, that I would do this twice a week, because I feel like this is a really great way for us to bond and hang out and talk Trek and all this stuff. I did a selfie with me, put his arm around me. Domestic. Oh, here. See, I forgot I can do this. When I saw Brent at Big Apple, he might not. I never asked to shake his hand, but he does put his arm around you for the photo. But it wasn't like cuddly, close or whatever. He did put his arm around me for the selfie. But anyway, but it's possible, like you said, it's possible that, or honestly, and this, before I finish what I was going to say, I'm going to address what Domestic just said, because it's something that Nikki and I covered in our Convention 101 panel for Holocon. It could also just be that Brent was coming down with something, or if he felt himself getting sick, he may not have wanted to shake hands because either he didn't want to get somebody else sick or he didn't want to take on any more germs himself. So it could be one of two things. It could be in that moment he wasn't doing handshakes. It could be that the photo op people sometimes are really big on don't do anything but take the picture and get the hell out, which happens. All right, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to go into a David Tennant story, because my friend posted this picture the other day on Facebook, and I am going to share to illustrate why that might not make Brent a germ guy. I went to Wizard World in 2015, and I had my dream photo op. I got a David Tennant general admission photo op, which he wasn't doing. He was only doing VIP photo ops until they opened Wizard World, and then when they opened Wizard World, he had agreed to do GA on Sunday. I went, oh my God, I spent the money. I was so excited. I love, 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 love David Tennant. He is my doctor. My friend that I was with had VIP tickets. So he was entitled to the shot with David Tennant and Billie Piper. Now, normally, Evan is an incredibly generous person, and if he can, he will let me in the photos with him. But obviously, I have to take a back seat when his wife and family are there. So for the David Tennant, Billie Piper one, his wife was there, his son, his daughter, and his son's friend were there. And since they were all teenagers, the 2 people per photo op rule doesn't apply to families. So they all got to go in, and this friend of his son's ruffled David Tennant's hair. And I think, did she touch Billie Piper too? I don't remember, but I know she ruffled David Tennant's hair. That was Saturday. Sunday, I'm in line for my photo op. I am excited to beat the band. And now they're going up and down the line saying no touching, no handshakes, no contact, get your picture and get out. And you have to figure it's because somebody was inappropriate and ruffled David Tennant's hair. So it could have been that it just was not the time, that he wasn't handshaking for a variety of reasons, and only one of which could be that he's a germ guy. The other could just be no physical contact. But I will tell you that upon leaving my photo op on the way out from David Tennant, I reached out my, so look, I can even do this on camera now. I went like this. I said, have a safe trip home. I always, for some reason, like to wish the celebrities safe travels. I'm like, have a safe trip. He reacted instinctively, reached out and grabbed my hand. I did not touch him. It was his choice. So yay me. Anyway, that's my David Tennant photo op story. He does have lovely hair, Christopher. Or as Rose said in that one episode, he's got great hair. But anyway, he does have great hair. But still, her ruffling it ruined it for the rest of us. But to my point, this time last year, I actually ended my season, took a break for the summer to kind of, gear up so that when I came back, I had all these amazing Las Vegas interviews. That's what I opened my season 2 with. I figured if major television shows can do it, I can do it. It also kind of gives me a chance to refresh, put together a whole new programming calendar for what I want to talk about. If Discovery was back, maybe that would be a little bit different. I'd have more content to share with you guys. But right now, the way it's looking, as much as I love you guys, and I know I just started doing the video thing, but that's the other thing. I want to look at upgrading my equipment, possibly doing some more with the video stuff, get a real handle on this, because there's things that I want to do with the video that I just don't know how to do yet. So next week, unless something changes, unless I don't know what could change, unless I don't know. But right now I'm looking at next Monday and Wednesday being the last 2 shows of the season. Hopefully maybe I'll dig up us a guest. Maybe I'll have my buddy Randy come back for a goodbye, because Randy hasn't done video with me yet. But we'll figure something out. But yeah, right now I'm thinking next week is going to end the season. So if you guys have any ideas for my last 2 shows, I would absolutely love to hear them. And you can tell me by letting me know on social media, by following me on Facebook or on Twitter, or you can even email me at the NX7062. Oh, sorry, there's no the. It's just NX7062 at Comcast.net is the email address. That's NX7062 at Comcast.net. I love the fact that I have some new listeners. I hope you guys will be patient and come back and see me next week. And then after that in September, when I start back up again. But until then, have a great week, everybody. As always, stay safe, stay sane, and live long and I can't do it. Look, see, this is as good as it gets. Live long and prosper.